Hello and welcome back to my movie corner. My name is Michael and today's video is a somewhat sequel video to one I made last month called five video games that I would love to see become movies. And a college friend of mine made the suggestion that it would be an interesting way to see the reverse of this. Five movies I would like to see become video games. Now, as you can tell by the title, I put three instead of five, and that is simply because it was difficult to get just three. Now, the first one of them I instantly knew I was going to pick because it didn't have a game, and I'll get to that now in a second. But it was, as I was looking through it was my movie collection. It was a mix of one of two things. Either one, they already have a video game, be it from the Nintendo Entertainment System days or up to more recent generations, or two, I just don't think it would fit well into the video game as a video game. So what do I mean by that is, well, when I was picking the three that I have, I went with a specific goal in mind of that the movie would be interesting enough to turn into a video game, and two, that it would at least make sense for it to become a video game. With how I would see the levels play out, and the missions and all that. So yeah, I went with three. So let's get started with number three. So, with number three, I chose the film 9. The main reason I initially actually had this as my number one pick, but I changed my mind last second, and I'll explain why. And that is, when I looked up to see if this did have a video game or not, I came across an article that stated that this movie originally did have a movie tie-in game in development, but it was since cancelled, and it was found by one of the animators for this game studio having this listed on their LinkedIn profile. And then of course, when that original article came out, the people obviously behind the studio did not want this information out there, so he quickly changed his LinkedIn profile, but the people who wrote the article obviously had a screenshot of that. So, why do I think 9 would still make a fantastic video game? Well, it's simple. The plot of this movie, if you don't know, is basically in a post-apocalyptic future, these 9 sock puppets who have each a fragment soul of the original creator, who in the past in this was responsible for developing an AI that then went and created machines for war, that then turned on these people and eradicated all life on Earth. The machines ceased to exist, except for one that accidentally gets awakened by the main character of 9. So it's basically them trying to figure out how to stop this and also stay alive. So it'd be interesting to, traverse all these, the post-apocalyptic era, especially since, you'd be a little sock puppet, so you'll have these big, huge buildings to explore, so there'll be a lot of platforming that would need to be done for, all these different types of missions. So that's why I have this in my number 3 spot. Like I said, it's originally going to be number 1, but I decided to, because there was originally going to be a tie-in game, that I put it at number 3. Okay, so for number 2 and number 1, these are ones that I'm surprised actually don't have tie-in games, given when they were initially released. So I picked for my number 2 spot is the live-action Scooby-Doo movie, specifically Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed, instead of the original Scooby-Doo movie, because I feel this would be a lot better as a Scooby-Doo game. Because, Scooby-Doo, It has cartoons, movies, and a lot of video games. My personal favorite being Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase on the PS1, which I do own. But surprisingly enough, when I tried to do research for these, the most I found was a board game for the original, but no movie tie-in game, which is odd because these came out in the early 2000s when the movie tie-in games were. It seems nearly every movie was having a movie tie-in game. So, why have I picked number two? Is essentially because this is the closest movie to live action Scooby Doo movie that is it essentially feels like an episode of Scooby Doo. You know, there's no adult themes. It's more catered towards kids and that. And I think it would be interesting, you know, having to go through the different levels, trying to stop the real ghosts from taking the costumes, and then you know having big boss battles with the the past costumes from the show's history and all that. So I think that's why this one would have made a fantastic tie-in game. It might not have, you know the way movie tie-in games can be if you played some of them. They're not the best, but I still think in the right developer's hands, this would have been somewhat decent. So, what is my number one pick? Well, let's get on to that. So yeah, what is my number one pick? Well, it's in the same reign of Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. When it came out, it was the early 2000s. Practically everything and their mother was getting a movie tie-in game, but not this one. And I think it would have made a perfect movie tie-in game, and that of course is Spy Kids. Now, out of the trilogy of Spy Kids movies, I went with the first one because I felt like this would have been, really good, really interesting. Because you can play as both Carmen and Judy. You can either do it there's the multiplayer co-op aspect of it. You get to play as both, and different things. Like with Lego games, where you need certain one of the two characters to do certain things throughout the levels to progress and all that, as well as for the majority of this movie, the Carmen and Judy are going through on the run, different places and all that. There's the issue in the clothes shop, there was the issue in the park, all that stuff. All that could have been levels, especially exploring the evil character's lair. I'm drawing a blank because I haven't seen this movie in quite a while, so I'm quickly trying to see if it's on the back here. Fagin Floop. Yeah, exploring Floop's castle. That could have been, a big thing. And then, of course, final battle with the big bad and all that stuff. And I think it's a shame that this didn't actually get a video game. So, those have been my 3 picks for movies I would love to see get the video game treatment. That makes sense to get the video game treatment. So again, number 3 is 9, number 2 is Scooby-Doo 2, and number 1 is Spy Kids. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what movies you would like to see have a video game tie-in in the comment section below, and I will see you all next time for another brand new video.